Welcome back to Murder with the Missus. I'm Darren.
And I'm Amy. And today we're going to tell you about Collin Griffith.
Don't forget to smash that like button. Check out the description for the links of all of our podcast platforms, CashApp, and Buy Me a Coffee. Like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to tell your friends. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you guys had a great Valentine's Day. Hope the ladies got everything they ever wanted.
Wow.
And guys,
don't start.
I hope you guys got something too.
Don't start.
I really do.
They get stuff every day.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but I hope you guys got something too. I hope you guys were made to feel special too.
That's true. Men are special.
So,
okay, my
heart goes out to y'all.
Yeah, it's like I said, special. Now, this one is another one that has a lot going on, so I'm going to see if I can keep it in under an hour. There is a trigger warning for child abuse and self-harm, so safety first.
Trigger warning.
Warning.
We have to say that because some people
get triggered by the trigger.
Get triggered by the trigger.
Yes. When I was watching the Natalie Cochran trial, this trial was happening at the same time. But I decided to watch the Cochran trial because of all the twists and turns. If you haven't watched that one, you need to go watch it because I needed answers, so I'm sure you do too. And when I went back to look at this one because I'm nosy, I figured we would just go ahead and cover it too because it has ties to Oklahoma. So let's get into it. On Sunday, September 8th of 2024, 16-year-old Collin Griffith called 911 in Auburndale, Florida at about 6:14 p.m. He doesn't know the address to tell them where he is, but his mom is bleeding out. He gives the operator directions to the house where they're at and says that she needs to go to the hospital. The operator tells him that he called 911, so they would be sending an ambulance. He doesn't think she has time. She has a heart condition. She's unconscious. She's 39 years old. She's not breathing. He then says that she had stopped bleeding. He thinks she's dead. At first he said that there was a fight, and eventually he says that they had got into a long fight and she fell on a knife and she was bleeding from her neck.
So she fell on a knife and got stabbed in the neck.
That's what he said.
Okay.
Yeah. So the operator walked him through CPR and had told him to get a towel to try to stop the bleeding. And given what the operator has relayed to the police and first responders, police have to go into the house first to make sure that there's no threat of danger before EMS can come in. And they take a crying, upset Collin outside while EMS works on her. But it's too late. 39-year-old Catherine Griffith, or Kathy, is dead. And Collin was arrested. They ended up charging Collin with first-degree murder and kidnapping. Collin's story changed from Kathy falling on the knife to her coming at him and he had to defend himself. And here's what we learned in court. Kathy and Collin's dad, Charles, who everyone calls Chuck, were in a very violent relationship. Kathy had got pregnant with her oldest son, Chris, when she was just 13 years old. And then Collin came around 4 years later. They lived in Stroud, Oklahoma. Kathy and Chuck finally got divorced around December of 2019. And Chuck got custody of Collin. And they stayed in Oklahoma when Kathy moved to Florida where her mom, Susan, lived. Now, Susan has multiple properties in different areas of Florida, like the Keys and Auburndale.
So, Kathy died at her house?
One of her houses, yes.
Oh, okay.
So, Susan traveled for work, so she was actually in the Keys when this all happened. And she mainly lived at the house in Auburndale, and Kathy and Collin lived in a house in Port Charlotte. Anyway, about 3 years after Kathy came to Florida, on Valentine's Day, 2023, something happened in Oklahoma. Collin shot somebody twice, once in the chest and once in the head, and they died. Collin wasn't tried for the crime, and in March of 2024, he was sent back to Kathy in Florida to live. Now, Kathy was on cloud 9. She had little to no interaction with Collin for 3 years, and now that he's turning 16 and he's older now, they were reunited and she was spoiling him. Plus, Grandma Susan sounds like she had a little money because she was paying for a lot of stuff too. They took vacations all the time to DC, Disney. They took cruises. They were just living it up. Collin hadn't been in school apparently because he ended up completing 3 years of school that he missed and his 4th year all at once while taking college classes. And he had a 3.7 GPA.
So he's making up for lost time too.
Yeah, they're both making up for lost time.
Got it.
But it wasn't all rainbows and sunshine.
Yeah.
The prosecutor pushed that while he was being showered with trips and endless Starbucks, phones, laptops, all the things, he wasn't big on giving back or pulling his weight. If he was told to do a chore, he fought back. And he and Kathy actually fought a lot. They even had physical altercations. The defense really pushed that Kathy was unstable, that she had an issue with pills and alcohol, along with mental health issues. Not a good combination. She had threatened several family members. When Collin was just 10 years old, Kathy had stabbed Chuck with a corkscrew. And she'd also hit him with her car and pinned him against the house.
With the car?
With the car. They said that the oldest son, Chris, had to take a baseball bat to the car to bust the window to get her to let Chuck go. Allegedly, she had also attempted suicide 6 times. The last time being the month before she died. She OD'd and Collin had to drive her to the ER. She also allegedly had accused her own dad, Robert, who now lives in New Mexico, of sexually assaulting her when she was younger. Susan said that it went to court, but no evidence was found, and Kathy eventually told Susan that she had made that up. But that did cause a bit of an issue in Robert and Kathy's relationship.
I mean, that'll do it.
Wouldn't it though?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of accusations going around in the trial, but it gives us a little background as to what went down last year. There's a bit of law enforcement involvement, so we also have body cam footage. Plus there were 4 Ring cameras at Kathy's house, so there's that too. There was one at the front door, one in the living room kitchen area, one in Kathy's room, and one in Collin's room. They didn't show the video on the trial coverage, but we could hear the audio, and some of the body cam footage is available online. In September of 2023, the family went on a cruise that Susan paid for. Kathy and a couple others were going to meet up to go do something, but the other people were late, so Kathy got mad and spent the last couple of days away from the rest of the family. On the way home from the cruise, Kathy and Collin got into an argument, either because Collin had a bad grade or because he mentioned an appointment with a teacher that she didn't have advanced knowledge of. They told both stories in court, so we don't really know. Either way, when they got home, Kathy allegedly gave him some papers he would need if she was ever gone. Then got her gun and pointed it at Collin, saying she was either shooting him, herself, or both of them. She hands the gun to Collin and tells him to shoot her. Then somehow she gets the gun back because next she orders him outside and tells him that after he hears the pop, he can come back in. And then she makes Collin sit outside her bedroom, cross-legged.
Crisscross applesauce?
Yeah, but when he wouldn't do crisscross applesauce, she forced him to at gunpoint. And then she drove him to school.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell? This was all before school?
Apparently, or it lasted all night. I have no idea. I couldn't follow some of these stories.
It's kind of all over the place.
It is. That was a story told by the defense attorney, and that was the order she told it in. Like, she didn't say how she'd got the gun back to force him to go crisscross applesauce. She didn't.
This is from Collin.
This is from Collin. He didn't testify, but this all came through his attorney.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was confused.
Yeah.
And there's no ring footage of that, but apparently he did tell a teacher when he got to school, and they called the cops. Now, what was Kathy's version? Now, her version was that, excuse me. Sorry, it's the season. She told them that Collin was failing a class. So she took his phone and AirPods away, and he was mad. So he made all that up.
Oh, poor guy.
I know. And
His
this is
AirPods taken away.
not my AirPods. And this is a trend too in this case. Even Grandma Susan says that he gets really angry when you take away his toys. But the cops and DCF believed Kathy. So Collin told them he needed to be Baker acted. So put on a 72-hour psych hold for evaluation because he was either going to kill himself or Kathy. He said he had done it before and would do it again.
There you go.
There you go. At some point, he mentions that he would hurt Susan too. They asked how he would do that. And he said he would shoot her, stab her, or push her out of a car. Okay, buddy. He says that, so he did go to the Baker Act facility, but Kathy got a lawyer and got him released. He says that he told them, again, he did not feel safe at home. He asked to go to foster care. Now, Susan told him he didn't want that. He didn't want to go to foster care. The sergeant that he allegedly told this to testified that he doesn't remember Collin saying anything about foster care. So maybe he just said it to Susan? But he says he said it to the cops. A couple of juvenile detectives were assigned to the case. They kind of mediate and keep an eye on things. And he went to Sandy Pines to work on a treatment plan for get his anger under control. And then they wanted to put him on medication for his mental health issues, according to Susan. But Kathy checked him out after 3 days. She refused to allow them to give him any medication. He was supposed to be in there for 60 to 90 days. So she's pulling him out. Like, she's that mom that's like, get out, but come back. You'll see that a lot. On November 12th of 2023, Kathy told Collin to pack up and leave. So he went to Susan's for the night. The next day, Susan brought him home and she kind of hung around the house. She says that Kathy started punishing Collin. She hit him with a belt. She made him do push-ups and hold a weight over his head. And later, while eating, she was still telling him how things were going to be when Collin just stood up and said, "Let's just do this." Now, Susan ran to get her phone to call one of those detectives. Why she didn't do that when the belt came out is beyond me. But when she got back into the room, Kathy and Collin were both on the floor.
Damn.
Yeah. So Collin got up and left, calling the cops. He told them that Kathy punched him after he stood up. Kathy denies that. And Susan is seen on body cam footage telling Collin, who is in the back of a cop car, that that wasn't true. Kathy did not punch him. Kathy and Susan said that Kathy told Collin she was taking away his cell phone and Xbox. Plus, he wasn't allowed to go on vacation at Thanksgiving. So he kneed her in the stomach, threw her on the ground, and stepped on her hand until she let go of his phone. So that's what they say is actually what happened.
Yeah.
Since he had, sounds about right.
Yeah.
Since he had no marks on him, but she had redness and swelling on her stomach that was starting to bruise, and she had a scrape and dirt on her hand from Collin's shoe, Collin was arrested for domestic battery. He ended up with probation for this incident. I'll just let you know that in advance. Now, Susan did get him a lawyer, and when he got out, he told them that he didn't want to go home, but they make him. The guy at the juvenile detention center did call to have patrol go and do a welfare check at the house, though, because he said that Collin told him if they sent him back home, he was going to kill Kathy. So now we have multiple instances where he has told authorities, "I'm going to kill her." And they're like, "See you later. Have fun with your mom." Apparently on the body cam footage, when they got there, you could see Collin holding a weight over his head. And Kathy tells them that it is his punishment for beating the shit out of her last night. Collin tells them that Kathy thinks he's psychotic. She thinks he's going to kill her. I wonder why she would think that. He said, "I'm not going to take what I consider abuse. When someone is attacking me, I am in a constant state of fight or flight. And I don't know. If I think she's going to do something, even if she's not, I might act. I'm not going to go crazy or anything. I'm just not sure, honestly."
They're going to take him again?
They took him again. He was Baker acted again. Kathy calls the detectives upset that he's back in custody and threatens to hurt herself.
I mean, she's gone too.
Yep, she got Baker acted too.
These two needed to be separated.
Badly.
I mean.
Badly. I know.
I mean, honestly, this kid was spoiled.
He was spoiled.
Too much.
Very, very.
And he didn't know what no meant.
Right.
He didn't know the answer to that. I mean, he didn't like hearing no.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Maybe he was being raised up in a fuck around and find out house.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Because when you was
crazy.
told no,
mm-hmm.
that's it.
That's no.
It's not throw a fit until you get your way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No is no. And now you might be able to revisit it
True.
at a later date. But right then, the answer is what the answer is.
Yeah. And he's
And if
16.
you continue, you're going to get your ass whooped.
Yeah.
That's the fuck around and find out.
He's 16. He knows.
Yeah. Well,
he
the whole
should
thing
know.
is like they should have never with everything that he said, all the damn times that they had him.
Right. On repeat.
They should have never let him go.
I mean, I would think that the state, DCF, his detectives, juvenile detectives that were in the case, couldn't one of them make him stay in a facility for a certain amount of time?
Yeah.
Like against the parents' wishes, even if they don't, because it's for his best interest.
Yep. They could have put him on a watch.
They could have done something.
They could have put him on watch list. They could have put him on everything. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff they could have done.
They just kept sending him back.
They just, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It was very obvious that they needed to be separated and they weren't.
And the whole thing was, I mean, it's like they should have really investigated why everything was happening.
What do you mean? They were seeing it. The cops saw.
Well, then they should have never gave him back to the mom.
Exactly.
If they were seeing it, then they should have never got it back. That's on them.
Every time they'd get into an argument, one of them would call them detectives. They were heavily involved in this, what was going on. And they knew the history.
I'm not saying that he's right, or anything. He was if he did this to his mother or whatever, that's wrong.
Right.
Period. But they should have never released him back to her if they seen that it was gonna potentially happen.
He's saying it. He's telling them this is what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Now, he will go on to say that he never threatened her directly,
but
that he always said that he would defend himself if he had to. And that's what he meant when he said, I've done it before and I'll do it again.
Yep.
So, I don't know. We'll see. There's more.
Yeah,
so
orders could have been put in place to where
isn't that what they're there for?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
this time, so now at this time, now that they've both been Baker acted, the lawyer drafted a 751 agreement. So basically, it's a concurrent custody agreement where both Kathy and Susan have equal say-so and rights over Collin. So like his care, where he goes to school, all those kinds of things. It's almost like a joint parenting plan but they each individually could make the choice for him. They didn't need the other person's permission. Collin could stay with either one of them without the other's permission, things like that. And at the end of 2023 into 2024, there's more back and forth. They fight. Kathy makes him leave, and then she makes him come home. She's OD'd a couple of times, according to the defense. DCF gets involved again. In March of 2024, he got a car and a job at Domino's. So things were looking better. But by the end of August into September, Kathy tells people that she's going back into the dark place. And her therapist suggests a facility for her. Maybe she needs to go into a facility, but Kathy doesn't go. On September 7th, so this is the day before she died, Collin uses Kathy's card at Starbucks to buy a breakfast sandwich and a couple of drinks. When he was at home, he says he wanted to take a walk, get out of the house and exercise, but Kathy wants him to do things around the house. And they argue, and this is on ring cam footage. The candy in his room is collecting ants, but he won't clean it. He won't weed eat the backyard. He won't help her hang a bookshelf. She tells him to get a change of clothes and leave his house key. So he's getting kicked out again. Because of his probation for the domestic battery, he can't leave the county unless it's to go to Grandma Susan's house in Auburndale. And he just had to let his PO Monique know. So he emailed her on his way out, and Kathy has started a phone campaign. She's tracking him. She's texting him. She's calling him. She's threatening to shut his phone off, sell his car, all the things if he does not come home.
I assume he didn't go, home since we know that what happened the next day.
Right, right. He would not go home. He ended up blocking her. He was ignoring her. And he was at Grandma Susan's. The detective, I think it was one of them, told her to wait a little bit to let everything calm down, which is smart. So she gave him until 10 the next morning. He didn't come home. So between 12 and 12:29, she texted him, Collin, the recordings of you admitting to killing that person in Oklahoma and planning the murder, there are 4 different instances from my Ring camera. All are going to Bob, Susie, Amanda, and Chris at 3 p.m. today. Plus, the recovered audio from Chuck's iCloud where you told your dad you hated me and I was an evil bitch are being sent too. My dad is sending me his recordings of you telling him how you planned my murder back in February. Audio, video, emails, texts, and phone records are all being sent. No, you cannot have a single one. Your attorney can request them. All because you didn't want to help me mount a bookshelf that took under 30 minutes, weed eat the backyard, and clean your room because the bugs were in the candy you left all over. Remember, you chose this. You have 10 minutes to call me and fix this, Collin.
So she says he planned the murder in Oklahoma.
Yes. Yes, that's
Okay.
what she said, that he had planned it out. What? Now, this was what the prosecutor points to as a possible motive for him killing Kathy, not self-defense. He didn't want all of this to come out, because he didn't get charged in Oklahoma. So if this comes out, he can be charged for it. There's no statute of limitations. It was sometime around 4:30 to 4:45 when a lady living across the street from Susan's Auburndale house was on the lanai. I was like, what's a lanai? That's fancy. It's a sunroom. And Kathy's car comes zooming into the driveway at Susan's, reverses really fast, and parks in the road. Now, this is a 65 and over community, so this definitely caught her attention. Kathy got out of the car, slammed the door, slung her purse over her shoulder, and went into the house. So neighbor Nancy went inside to do the dishes because she's from Chicago, where if you see something, you turn your head. That's what she said on the stand. She a gangsta. And that's different from neighbor Sally, who was getting ready for church when she walked into her living room and saw Kathy's white Volkswagen Jetta parked in the street. She was looking at it when she said Kathy came out of the house with clothes and put them in the passenger side of Collin's black Volkswagen Jetta that was in the driveway and under the carport. So it's like literally right next to the house. Kathy's arms were animated. So she could tell that she was arguing with Collin, who was on the driver's side, but she couldn't hear what they were saying because remember, she's across the street and in her house. Then Kathy came around the car and got up in Collin's face, kind of. He's like 6'2". You can probably see on the screen, or we'll post pictures separately, that her head barely comes above his shoulder. So there's a big height difference. But they wouldn't, like, anytime they'd bring that up in court, it was like, that means nothing. We can't talk about that. But anyway, they didn't want that coming out.
No.
But Kathy was still flailing her arms around, and Collin reached around and grabbed her. Kathy yelled, "Let go of my hair. You're hurting me." And she yelled loud enough that Sally could hear that inside the house. Collin reached with his other hand and opened the door, pulling Kathy into the house. And Nancy says that when she came back out after doing them dishes, that she only saw an arm come out and grab the lady by her shoulder or by her hair. And then Nancy turned around and went right back into her house. Like, Nancy.
So Nancy wasn't about to get involved.
Nancy's from the streets. She's like, I see nothing, I know nothing. Don't come to my house. Either way, neither one of them felt like there was a need to call the cops or even just call Susan. And we know that it was about an hour or so later that Collin called 911. So what happened in that house for that hour? Kathy had a wide open, gaping wound from the knife that went into the right side of her neck and out the left. The knife was 12 inches long and 8 inches of that was blade. It went through her neck muscles, esophagus, trachea, and thyroid cartilage. She had a wound on her right hand in the webbing between her thumb and index finger, and it was an open wound, so they believe that to be a defensive wound. Yep.
Stop.
She had scrapes and bruises on her whole body. Some bruising was in various stages of healing, and she also had Xanax and amphetamines in her system. That would probably be why she came in so hot. She had come out of her flip-flops and they were by her feet. There was blood on the bottoms of them, tops of them. There were 2 cell phone charging cords and a set of keys on the floor too. Her phone was on the kitchen island. Her backpack purse was on the floor. There was blood inside of it and out. She was laying next to the island, and the way they described the blood, because they wouldn't show pictures, the way that they described the blood was it was lower on the cabinets and the dishwasher. They did make a point to emphasize that blood was in places that didn't quite make sense to her falling on the knife. So they knew that's not what happened. There was also a towel and a gray camo shirt on the floor, and Collin was not wearing a shirt. So
maybe he used it to stop the blood.
Well, it would look that way.
Mm-hmm.
And his name was written on inside the shirt, so we know it was his. But the only blood they talked about being on that shirt was a little underneath the collar. So I really doubt he used that to help stop the blood, so why'd he take it off? But anyways, there was a slit in the shirt just above the left, like where your belly button is, so it'd be up and a little to the left, and a small hole on the back left shoulder. He did have blood on his arms when they got there, but EMS rinsed them off when they took him outside.
Why?
Why are you rinsing blood off of a suspect?
Exactly.
Anyways, and police say that he was manic. He was in a manic state when he was inside the house, but once they got him outside, he was calm, like completely calm. One cop said that they put him in the squad car, and the cop that was up front was writing a report, and they were talking about video games. And they're like, oh, was you trying to distract him from what was going on? And he was like, oh, no, we were just making conversation. So it was just a regular old conversation, like his mom wasn't dying in the kitchen. Anyways, one of the deputies who went in the house first says that Collin was doing CPR, but was at Kathy's head, not like at the side, like you're supposed to do it. And here's some other things to know. Back in November, when the domestic battery stuff was happening, he told police in an audio recording that there is Collin 1 and Collin 2. Collin 1 just wants to survive and help people. And Collin 2 protects 1 in situations he can't escape from. Number 2 is the one who killed someone. So, sounds like multiple personality disorder.
Yeah. If they proved it.
One of the texts from one of the texts from Kathy to Collin said, Collin, you need to stop this before it gets way worse. If you don't come home soon, you're going to face charges. Serious ones. Just stop. This same thing a year later? Why? Now, Kathy's dad said that Collin was talking about Kathy and Susan, and he said that he was so tired of these 2 bitches, saying, I'm disgusted. My mom, I keep thinking over and over, I want to slit her throat. I want her to bleed out. I want to smell the blood. I want to feel the blood. I want to feel the life and the blood leaving her body.
Let me guess. Collin never said that.
Collin never said that.
Yeah, he never said that at all.
Nope. Grandpa's lying. And they really pushed that he and Kathy didn't, like Robert, her dad, didn't have hardly any contact. And Collin and him didn't hardly have any contact. So they're like, he don't even know. He's not even really part of the family anymore. He lives in New Mexico. But anyways. And I'll tell you what happened. And then I'll tell you 2 things that weren't allowed in trial. In the end, the jury found Collin not guilty.
No way.
Yes way. It was a shocker for a lot of people.
How?
Yeah. Now, here's the big kickers. I wonder if the jurors would change their mind if they allowed in certain text messages as well. So it was greatly debated while the jury was out, but apparently they were able to get data from Collin and Susan's phones, but not Kathy's. Collin had sent a text to his lawyer in the domestic battery case back in January, talking about giving his mom the old knife to the neck from behind routine. That's the literal words that he used. Kathy found this on his phone, used her phone to take a picture of it, and then texted that to Susan. So the state's like, well, it came from a third party, so we're good, right? But the judge decided in the end that due to the attorney-client privilege, they could not tell the jury about it.
I mean, I get that, but damn. Yeah. I mean, in his own words.
Yes.
You know what?
Yes.
They released a killer.
Oh, hang on. There's more.
They're like, I mean, what would this be? The third, fourth?
What, time he killed?
Yeah.
Second
time he killed. So there you go. Second time he killed.
Yep. Yeah.
And got away with it.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. Now, the jury did hear that Collin had shot someone in Oklahoma about 18 to 19 months before this incident with his mom, but they couldn't hear certain details, like that he shot his dad. That he said his dad was coming at him with a knife and he was cornered, but there was a gun within reach, so he shot his dad to protect himself.
Basically the same story.
Yep.
Now he's killed both of his parents.
Yep.
And got away with it.
So does that change things? You said he's killed twice. Does it change that he's killed both of his parents now?
No.
He's still guilty.
Yes.
He's still guilty. Now, the trial showed that Kathy's...
yeah, okay, so if it was one and it was self-defense, okay, I can see it.
That's what happened in Oklahoma. Right. They're like, but okay, self-defense, gotcha.
But two of them, both?
Yeah.
Now it's suspicious. Reopen the other one because of that one. And you got two.
And that's the thing. So now that in trial, Kathy has said that she has recordings of him talking about how he planned his dad's murder.
Yeah.
The great debate is whether the OSBI will be getting those recordings so that they can bring him up on charges here.
We'll see.
That's why I wanted to do this one, because we're going to be watching this one. We're going to see what happens, because this might be one that we can actually go to trial and watch in person.
I mean, Oklahoma ain't got a good freaking track record.
That's a true story. They already let him go once.
Yeah.
So the OSBI did charge him, but then they said that there was evidence supporting his version of events.
Okay.
And so they let him go. And that's why it took, until March or whatever for him to get back to Kathy.
So maybe the evidence supports what happened in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. Look at what happened in Florida.
Right. But they can't bring him up on charges in Oklahoma because they think he's guilty of something in Florida.
Okay. But the whole thing is, like, the people in Florida need to really look at it and be like, is it possible that he is in the same situation with both parents?
Yeah, but remember, this was not allowed in trial.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's where it's so damn screwed up.
His lawyers got so much of what they wanted. It was ridiculous. Like, they were like, we don't want it to be called a murder weapon.
Where the system is so screwed up.
Yes.
Because now is he out and about?
Yes.
Free to walk around. Hey, guys.
I think it was.
There you go. We got a murderer out and about,
I think it was about.
Name is Collin.
Remember his face.
Yeah, I remember the face.
But I think it was like last Friday or something night that they let him out, and he walked out and.
Get a little case pick up here. Remember that?
Remember that face?
Yeah, remember that face. Top right corner of the.
Yeah, that's his mom and dad in the bottom.
Bottom left corner.
Yeah, that's him. That's
and top right corner.
So that.
And the middle.
That bottom. Top right corner was the cruise that they had just come back from.
Yeah.
So that's like a very recent, I think, is the one. But anyways, so when he walks out, normally when they get released from jail, family and all, the people, reporters and everybody's outside, and they hug and they have a big victory. He walked out and it was like crickets. There was nobody out there. The camera from the news, or I guess it was Court TV, they like watched him and then they panned down the sidewalk and it was just empty.
Yeah.
There was nobody. I know Susan was probably waiting in the car because she's the one who's got him now. So Susan, you need to be checking in and letting people know you're okay every day. That's all I can say. Because she's the next closest one to him.
So what? Now he's living with her?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
He has to. He's 17, so he's not an adult yet. Mm-hmm. And Susan has partial custody of him. So.
Well, she needs to put a protective order on him and boot him.
She loves him. She testified on his behalf.
Be like, this is because I love you. You got to go.
She's not going to do that.
Call me.
Very, very
from a safe distance. Yeah.
Nope. She's got all that money, so she's just spoiling him.
Okay, so she's got she's got another house in where?
She has a house in the Keys, a house in Auberdale. She had that house in Port Charlotte.
Cool. Put him in one of them houses. Legally, at 17, he can leave.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, 18 is like the adult hood version or whatever, but 17 you can actually with parents' consent.
You wouldn't have to be emancipated.
Well,
I'd be doing that
with
Susan.
parents' consent and everything. You can actually live in your own place as long as the parent is paying for those bills.
Okay,
So,
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that.
So
okay. So anyways, yeah, we'll be watching this one just in case because I don't think he's done yet. He's gotten away with it twice,
he ain't
so he's
done
like,
yet. He's gonna plan out another one, and he's probably get away with it because the system is so screwed up.
I was wondering how the jury members feel like now that they've been out and they can see what they weren't allowed to see. I wonder if they're like
probably
losing sleep at night.
We fucked up.
Well, they had no choice. Well, they did have a choice. They did have a choice. He said he was going to kill her multiple times. They knew that. They did get to hear him say that he was going to kill her. They did get to hear.
That's why you wouldn't want me on a jury. I would be like, if I would hear that right there, I'd been like, nope.
But they did get to hear that Robert, the dad, his grandpa, said that he told him, I want to watch her bleed out.
Guilty.
He also told the cops that he would stab her, shoot her, or throw her out of a car.
Guilty.
I mean, why did he wait an hour to call 911?
Guilty.
Yeah.
I mean, there's basically admitting, it's like, what is it called? Premeditation. I mean, that's premeditated murder.
He was ready to go.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, I knew you'd get frustrated.
All this evidence against him, and it's like, you're good.
Yeah, you're good. Not guilty. I don't know where they came up with that, but they did. So if you like our content and want to contribute to the channel, there's a lot of ways to do it. Number 1 is to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when new episodes drop. We do have a Cash App that you can access by our email, danda.truecrime@gmail.com.
Yeah, and buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee/MWTM. And don't forget to tell your friends as always.
Tell them.
Because more than anything, subscribers.
Yep.
So till next time, we'll catch you later.
Bye.